Welcome to a brief presentation, but impactful, on how you, the clinician, can go from burnt out to super clinician. Hi, I'm LaQuandra. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas. I'm also a supervisor, so I have the pleasure of helping novice counselors come into the field, which is so exciting. And I've been doing this a little over a decade. I have experience in community mental health. I have experience in nonprofit. I have experience being a clinical director, and I have experience in private practice. So I find myself dealing with and encountering burnt out clinicians all the time. And I have to be honest and raise my hand that I was once where you are as a clinician, really loving their work, but really needing a change of scenery. So, I'm going to spend the next few minutes just helping you to make that transition from burnt out to super clinician. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about, why are you a clinician? Why did you choose to join this profession of helping people? What was it about you? What was it about this work? What are your motivations and desires for even being here? Let's roll it back, because sometimes if we lose sight of that, it's enough to create burnout on its own. So you probably said, I wanted to help people. That's something I'm good at. That's something I'm passionate about. Maybe you said, I like finding solutions. I'm a problem solver and I think anything can be solved. Maybe you said, I'm a good listener. You've been given that feedback all your life. Everyone has said, oh, wow, LaQuandra, when I come to you with something, you just hear me out. You don't try to overtalk me. You don't try to tell me what to do. You just listen. You're a good listener. Maybe you're a clinician because your family and friends have just always confided in you. You're the person that they just naturally come to. They confide in you. They're just like, hey, I got this X, Y, and Z going on. And you've been that person for people and you thought, I'm probably going to be good at this in real life. Maybe you had a good experience with a therapist. Maybe you had some struggles before. I've heard this one. You came to become a clinician because you had a good experience with a clinician. Awesome. You were someone modeled for you what it was like. Or you struggled with mental health, right? And maybe the resources were limited. Maybe there wasn't anyone around, there wasn't the availability, maybe there was a lack of payment source. Somehow you didn't get the help you needed, and you want to pour back and give to others, right? You want to be the resource now. No matter what your reason for becoming a clinician, the goal was met, right? You are one now, but you're feeling a little burnt out and we need to make a shift. But sometimes keeping in mind those reasons that you became a clinician, those reasons for starting what you're doing, are good to put into perspective, right? Because we are still helping people, we are still finding solutions, we are still good listeners, people are confiding in us, we are the good experience, we are the resource, right? And so it's still very fulfilling work. And I think as we talk about burnout, we don't want to focus on what's bad, but we need to keep in mind why we're doing what we're doing. Wow. So all those amazing reasons why we became clinicians, why we thought we were going to be just passionate and fulfilled and love the work that we do. And maybe some of that is still existing, but how did we get burnt out? What are the pain points? Like, what about being in this profession is creating the need for this shift in how we work? Okay, let's start with that. We're working too much. How many people are working around the clock? more than 40 hours? How many people are scheduling clients on Saturdays and Sundays and in the evenings, all into the wee hours of the night and early mornings and just fitting them in, seeing 25, 30, and 40 clients a week? How many of us are just working too much? Okay, right? We have multiple jobs. We have a full time and we have a part time. That's everybody's thing right now, right? We have these part time private practices that's helping us feel a little more fulfilled, but it's still time consuming. We are just working, 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 right? Here, there, and everywhere. Enormous amount of hours. I already said we're just seeing people around the clock because there's a demand for what we do, right? There's lots of people that need that help and support, and so we are showing up thinking we're being super clinicians, and we are doing it all. We are working, working, isolation. We get burnt out in isolation because while this is a very person driven profession, right? We're people facing all the time, but our work is isolated because we're working one on one with clients. We don't always get to interact with each other. We don't always get to talk to other clinicians, other therapists, other people that get it. And when we do get to talk to them, we're probably like staffing a case or maybe even complaining about how much work we're doing. We're not really getting that fulfillment. There's no joy in that, right? The camaraderie that comes with co-working doesn't really exist in our profession. So we're in isolation, especially those in private practice, because you literally are alone. It's private. Lack of self-care. We're burnt out because we're not taking care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of everyone else. We're not doing the things to pour back into ourselves. And you know how important that is because this work can be very heavy. And when we are pouring, pouring, pouring and not refilling, it's burdened down and we're not taking care of ourselves. So these are just a few of the reasons how ways that we can get burnt out in this profession. These are a few of our pain points. There are more, don't get me wrong. I know somebody said documentation. I know. I know somebody said insurance, billing, and verifications. I know. There's lots of different things that burn us out, absolutely. Chasing clients down for payments. I know. But these are just a few of those pain points that we have that really could change the game, right? If we could not work too much, if we could work together, and if we could take care of ourselves, we probably would be able to manage some of those other responsibilities that we have. I have to be honest, I think it's really important that as we look at burnout, we have to look at some of the cultural factors that might be playing into there, right? So, how does being a clinician of color change things for you? How does that maybe add to the experience, right? So, ask yourself some of these questions. How many people in your workplace look like you if you are working with other people? When you show up, can you be your authentic self without consequences? Do you wear what you really want to wear, or are you thinking twice before changing your hairstyle? Are you code switching? Are you using your work voice, right? Um, and what was your supervision experience like when you were a clinician? Was it important to you to have a supervisor of color? And if that was important for you, was it easy to find someone? And when you found them, did they live up to the expectations that you had? There's just lots of different things about this experience as a clinician of color that kind of changes the game. It really compounds and adds to some of that burnout, right? Do you feel supported? Do you have to turn it on? Do you have to prove yourself? Are you showing up in spaces where you have to debunk stereotypes? Yeah, we got to talk about that, right? It's a different experience. So it all helps that burnout feel like, hey, I can't do this anymore, right? I need to shift some things. I need to turn some things around. Something has to change for me. So let's look at some of the consequences of burnout. How is burnout showing up in our work? What is it doing to us, to our relationships, right? What happens if we remain in this state and we don't do anything to shift to super clinician? Well, one of the consequences is we are tired mentally, physically, and emotionally. We are not sleeping. You cannot possibly be sleeping if you are bogged down with things and you're working 10 plus hours a day of one-on-one therapy, working 7 days a week. You just can't be sleeping well. You're not eating because you haven't built in a lunch break. You don't have time for breakfast because you just wake up and start seeing clients. You're eating dinner too late at night, and it's probably not healthy because you don't have time to focus on that. And we all know when we don't eat, what do we become? Hangry. Okay. And so, yeah, we start to be frustrated, right? Because we're not taking care of our basics. We're not eating, sleeping, and hydrating. So we're frustrated because we have to just keep working. But we like working, right? Because it usually equates to money. But, and we like what we do, right? All those reasons why we came into this profession, but we become frustrated. We develop negative coping skills. What you talking about? We develop negative coping skills, whether that's dependence on caffeine, so drinking coffee all day long, Coke, Pepsi. We start doing things that are not healthy, like eating fast food. We start smoking different substances, right? Negative coping. Maybe we stop working out because we have to make more time to work, um, or we pick up other habits, right? Just, you know what yours is. Family life suffers because when you're frustrated, you take it out on the people you love the most, those that have the most access to your vulnerabilities, and that's going to be your family. Your family life suffers when you're burnt out at work because you bring it home. You do. It comes home with you. Your friendships cease. You just lose friends. You like, I had friends, but now I just see them on my Instagram stories because you stop socializing and spending time with people when you are burnt out, when you're working around the clock, when you're frustrated, you're chasing the dollar. The client is in charge of your schedule, so you don't have time to go to brunch. You don't have time to call and check on anybody. Not doing your documentation is a consequence of being burnt out. And as much as we probably don't like documentation, that has to happen. It's a part of the job. And so, not doing documentation because I'll just do it later. Administrative tasks fall off. What do I mean by that? You're not answering your business phone. You're not paying certain bills maybe associated with your business. You are not getting those release of information, those administrative tasks. They just, I'll do that part later. You're not updating your social media or your website. I'll do that later. We get into that it can wait phase, right? Because that's not really important to me. I showed up and did what I had to do for the client, and I can't do anything else. I don't have anything else to give. Overwhelmed, just one thing after the next, right? And so when we're not documenting, when our administrative task falls off, when our family life suffers, when our friends disappear, we just overwhelmed. It's just too much. It all piles up. And then we start making unethical decisions. Hopefully not, but sometimes it can get to this extreme because you don't check with anybody first, you don't consult on cases, you don't look at the ethics, you just sometimes make bad decisions when you're sleep deprived and when you're hangry and when you're frustrated and when you're overwhelmed. You may not make the best decisions. So we have to look at this, and this is not where any of us want to be. And in fact, we are teaching people and helping people get out of this in their personal lives, right? We're telling people very hypocritically what they need to do to take care of themselves, and we're not taking care of ourselves once we've reached burnout. Okay, we're just not showing up. Uh oh. Not showing up. And I don't mean you're absent absent physically, but mentally, right? Because you're thinking about the next thing, or you're thinking about the thing you didn't do before. You are thinking about that family issue that just blew up and how you had to leave it on pause, leave it on red so you could come to work and see these clients because, you know, we've put ourselves in this repetition where we're just doing one-on-one therapy day after day after day, all day long. So, okay, these are the consequences. So, what we're going to do about it? We cannot stay here. We cannot live in this space. We cannot be burnt out. So let's talk about other ways to use your training and experience, right? You have gone to school and worked really hard. You have completed a supervisory experience, right? You are licensed, you are a clinician. And there are other ways to use your training and experience that are not one-on-one therapy. And maybe mixing it up a little bit helps with your burnout. You could become a speaker. You could speak at conferences and summits, and you could be all over the world just talking to people, helping the people that way on a larger platform. But maybe that's not for you. Maybe takes time to build to that. Maybe you're like, I'm a little shy, which is why I prefer one-on-one. I don't really do the whole big crowds walking across the stage thing, and that's okay. You could become a trainer. Maybe you're training other businesses or other professionals, and you're helping people that wouldn't otherwise get mental health training or mental health help. Maybe you're promoting CEUs. Okay, that sounds good. But maybe that's not your thing either. You could do groups. Maybe you say, okay, I have a bunch of people with the same problem. I'm going to take about a one-on-one therapy and throw them all in a group together because I'm going to serve more people in less time. And that's really smart. I like that thinking. Okay. But getting clients to buy into group could be hard, and sometimes the work is not as effective because they're not as open as in one-on-one therapy. I don't know what's, some barriers might be to that. Maybe you don't have a space to do group, or maybe again, you're just not really a large audience type of person and you prefer the one-on-one work. Cool. You could sell merchandise, right? We see therapy t-shirts and therapy journals and all that kind of stuff all over the place. And you could absolutely become one of the people in the market selling merchandise, therapy related products. You could write a book, right? You could sit down and devote time to that. That would be cool. One last option is you could become a supervisor. What if I told you that you could have the opportunity to promote therapy by preparing other therapists, to become therapists. So you're getting to be a little bit of the trainer and you're getting to do a little bit of the group stuff just by becoming a supervisor because you are literally expanding your reach. How many clients can you realistically see one-on-one? Then think about if you could multiply yourself and you could have other highly trained, ethical, qualified therapists and how many clients they could see. So on average, if you see 20 clients a week, but you can multiply yourself and that 20 clients, let's just say times four, that would be 80 clients being served. And depending on your niche and your population that you like to serve, wouldn't that be great if there was more access to people with training and qualifications like yourself? What if people of color who are looking for clinicians of color had more options because you duplicated yourself by preparing others? So let's talk about what supervision would look like as a way to use your training and experience. If you haven't guessed it already, the answer to becoming a super clinician is to become a supervisor. That's the answer today. And I'm going to help you get there. What if I told you that becoming a supervisor is guaranteed increased income with less time invested that you put into your one-on-one therapy? You could earn up to 2,400 extra dollars a month in just 10 hours time. I'll do the math for you later and tell you how to do that. But think about that. How does that sound? What's your hourly rate for one-on-one therapy? And could you make $2,400 in 10 hours? Maybe you can. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing, being a supervisor is less draining than one-on-one therapy. And there's a no-show guarantee. I'll tell you how to do that. But your supervisees are not going to no-show. And your supervisees are going to pay their supervision fee. Remember when you were in supervision? Yeah, because you wanted those hours to count and you wanted that signature. There's a no-show guarantee. What if I told you that becoming a supervisor can revive your satisfaction in clinical work? It can really uplift you and your spirits. You get to control your own schedule. You get to tell the supervisees when you're available. The, the clients are telling you when to be available right now. The clients are saying, oh, I need to meet after work. The clients are saying, oh, I can only meet on the weekends. You get to be in control of your own schedule when you're a supervisor. You decide who you work with. You can do an interview vetting process where you can only work with a certain type of clinician, someone who has similar interests and theories and thought processes as yourself. That isn't always possible in a therapy job because if you work somewhere, they just putting people on your caseload. And ultimately, the satisfaction comes in when you recognize the greater impact that you're having, that you're being able to help more BIPOC clients and the community at large by producing more BIPOC clinicians of color. So, if you become a supervisor, you could also have a larger community support network. There'll be resources and tools given to you, and training opportunities and consultation. It's a no-brainer. That helps with the isolation right there. You will get to know other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. So, LaQuandra, how do I become this super clinician supervisor that you speak of? Well, I'm glad you asked. Welcome to my new Hype Supervision program, helping you prepare and expand. In this program, you're going to receive the 40-hour required supervisor training to become a licensed supervisor in the state of Texas. But I'm not going to leave you there. You're not just going to get trained. You're going to get additional CEUs that are going to come out over a period of time to keep you up to date on supervision changes and best practices. You're going to receive support to help you set up your supervision practice. You're going to get tools and resources. And the best thing about it is it's going to be a community. You will no longer work in isolation. We are going to stick together as clinicians of color that are supervisors, and we're going to support each other. We're going to have events. We're going to network, and we're going to support and just help and be there for each other. We're not going to work in isolation. So, how can you be a part of that? You can reach out and express your interest. You can actually go to the website and sign up because the first course is coming soon. So here it is, www.hypesupervision.com. Sign up today. Register for the next course today. You don't want to miss out on this. Start your supervision practice today. I promise it's going to change the game for you. You will go from burnt out to super clinician supervisor. I'm guaranteeing you that you will make more money with less work, that you will be more fulfilled in your clinical work when you get to pour into the next generation of therapists. And I'm guaranteeing you that you will be a part of a warm, embracing community where we're going to support each other on this journey. We are going to do it together. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to email admin@hypesupervision.com. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to working with you in the training and in the community. Again, my name is LaQuandra, your expert clinical supervisor. Welcome to Hype Supervision.